No dress rehearsal, this is our life. That's what you gotta do. You gotta make the most of it.
Ontario, Canada, my friends, the Tragically Hip.
If any of us were in another band, I don't think we'd be able to do it because we wouldn't be in another band with our friends.
Crowds would get so loud that you couldn't hear anything happening on stage.
They put on a monster show.
They were loud and tight and forceful, and Gord was mesmerizing.
They made it cool to be Canadian. I feel silly being sort of emotional about it.
The songs that we wrote matter a lot to people. It came at its cost.
Well, the much-anticipated docu-series, The Tragically Hip, No Dress Rehearsal, made its world premiere at TIFF on day one yesterday. It really serves as a love letter from the band to the country they call home. Joining us this morning here on CB24 Breakfast are Mike Downey, the filmmaker and older brother of Gord Downey, and the manager of the Hip, Jake Gold. Good to see both of you this morning. Really appreciate you being here to talk about this.
Nice to see you.
Jake, Mike, either one of you can pick up on this. Yesterday at the premiere at TIFF, what was it like sitting in the audience as people were sort of seeing this for the first time?
I'll let Mike answer that. I think he has his own a lot of feelings about it. So,
well, you know, I think after 3 years of working on this in complete isolation, to watch it in a full house at the Royal Alex was mind-blowing. To actually just feel the reaction in the theater, hear the laughter, and then feel the emotion, some of the sniffles. It was really powerful. And, you know, I think the thing about the Hip is they already kind of pluck our heartstrings, you know. They always have. And then to put it all together into this 4-hour documentary, yeah, we could tell it was getting to people. We could tell that they were having a visceral reaction to it. It was great.
I like to say it's a champagne and tissue kind of series.
It's a good descriptor.
You know,
not bad.
But we were talking about it in the car on the way over. It's like, you know, when you think about a live concert, there's an immediate reaction. Live theater, there's an immediate reaction. But when you're sitting in an edit room, making this a film, you don't know what's going to land. And Mike and I were sitting a couple of seats over from each other watching it, and we're like, oh, the laughs are landing. Oh, that's good. You know, like you're realizing people are picking up on it.
Yeah, you get that range of emotions, don't
right,
you?
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, the archival footage, I mean, pictures from the first time they played in a high school gym to, of course, the last show in Kingston. Jake, you were there for so much of this band's history. What was it like going through your archives and going, oh my gosh, I don't think people have seen this, or this is going to blow people's minds, kind of?
So there were two kinds of archives that we actually put together. One is I brought in this team from Boston who works with all these really big artists, and they're archivists. This is what they do. Okay. And we went into everybody's basements and storage lockers and cubby holes, and that was not just mine, but all the band members and friends and people that knew Gord stuff, everything. And they moved everything to this warehouse in Guelph. And they spent 9 months scanning and building this digital and physical archive. Yeah. On the other side, Mike's team was busy finding all this old video footage and audio stuff like that. And then Universal Music was also digitizing all the old stuff that was on tape that you know, we couldn't access, in addition to, you know, stuff from this building. Yeah, because a lot of it wasn't digitized, but the digitization process had already started here, so we're able to get, you know, the old Much Music stuff and all the old, like, different network stuff. So Mike had a great research team out there finding stuff. We did call-outs, and then he also knew friends that he knew had a camera in the room that day. You know?
Or in the bathroom. It seemed a couple of interviews in bathtubs and things like that. Mike, what was it like getting the band members kind of back together again to talk about this? Because it was pretty clear in some of those interviews, you know, they struggled after your brother's death, that tragic death. Yeah. They were struggling. They weren't sure they really wanted to unpack, you know, they didn't want to look back, they want to look forward. How difficult was that? And then for you as his brother being so close to the subject matter, for all of you, like, how was that?
Well, Nick, the first interviews we did were in our old high school, which was vacant. It's bought by Queens, and we were able to get in there after all the students were gone, before Queens took it over. And I think those interviews were 2021, and in October, and it was like almost 4 years to the day since Gord's passing.
Right.
I think that was kind of the right amount of time for the guys to start to open up a little bit about it. Like the emotion was still very, very real, but the dust had settled, and there was, I think, maybe some clarity. So it was kind of a chance to talk about some pretty charged emotional content. And you know, I think the guys in the band were very private.
In general.
Yeah.
Overall, yeah, for sure they were.
Yeah.
For sure they were. So I think it was just, and you know, I could tell the difference. We did, I would say, 4 major interviews, like all day interviews with each member of the band. And you could see the difference between the first one and the second one and the third one, because it just became, the trust was being built. By the time we got to perhaps the third one, there was a rough cut of episode 1. So then it's like, oh, we kind of see what you're trying to do here. And they opened up even more. But it was just like they were long interviews, and it was just, you know, we needed to kind of go deeper and deeper as much as we could.
And I had come back in 2020, and because I had worked with the band for 17, then I didn't work with them for 17. I came back in 2020, and I think at that point they were ready to start looking back.
I think so.
Right, because we started finding these old tapes, and we put out an EP called Saskadelphia, and then we put out a box set. And that was in 2021, and we made videos, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're back doing things, and we were having regular meetings every couple of weeks. And so Mike and I, at that point, had approached them about, okay, this is what we want to do. And but it has to be warts and all.
And it's definitely warts and all.
And they opened up, and they said, okay. We said, we can't do puff piece. We're not here to do puff piece.
It's honest and raw. You feel that as you're watching it. And I want to also talk to you about yesterday, you know, that sing-along on John after the screening here. It's so clear how much the hip is still resonating with people today, right? I mean, the fact that crowd was out there singing along, choir, bringing the songs out, members of the band there as well. In that crowd, like, take me there. What was that like for both of you?
It was exciting. It was really, we were sort of like following the Pied Piper out of the theater and down King Street and on to John. It was absolutely supercharged. And I think also, like, it allows people to participate. You know what I mean? Like, so we've all been sitting there watching this and having this sort of wave of emotion and nostalgia come over us, and then you could actually be a part of it and create another, you know, new Tragically Hip memory. It was super powerful.
Yeah, and you know, there's a part in the film where this actually happens.
Yeah.
So the idea was, well, let's recreate it. Let's have the fans that have seen the film, because we took them out of the theater, and then we invited everybody else to come down, right? So the people that were in the theater was like, oh, I just saw that in the film. And the people that weren't in the theater are going to go home and watch the series when it's on Prime on the 20th, and they're going to see the series and go, oh, that's why we did that. It all makes sense, you know?
Well, listen, Jake, Mike, congratulations on this No Dress Rehearsal, the Tragically Hip. Fantastic docu-series. Drops on Prime September the 20th. I really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for sharing all of this. Thanks for collecting all of this and putting it together. It's absolutely wonderful.
Thanks for the great questions.
Yeah, for sure. Jake,
thank you so
great
to
see you.
Yeah.
See you again, Mike. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much.